Designers are just tired. Tired of the cold calls, the endless networking that doesn't always lead anywhere, and constantly competing on price.
It's like their expertise, this deep understanding they have of space and how it affects people, gets treated like just another line item, a commodity.
If that hit home, you're in the right place. In today's episode of the Interior Designer podcast, we're exploring a classic three-pillar marketing framework designed to build trust, making your ideal clients seek you out instead of the other way around. And to make your busy life easier, I've created a complete action guide to help you implement this immediately. Check the link in the show notes for your freebie. Oh, and because I'm such a big nerd, today's podcast episode was created using AI. Let's dive in.
All right, let's dive into this stack of source material you sent over, focusing on interior design and really tackling a big challenge a lot of designers seem to face.
Yeah, moving past that feeling of, well, it's just grinding away with traditional marketing, right?
Exactly, that constant exhaustion and figuring out how to build real, genuine trust with clients, something that feels less like, chasing them down.
That's really the core problem highlighted here. Designers are just tired. Tired of the cold calls, the endless networking that doesn't always lead anywhere, and constantly competing on price.
It's like their expertise, this deep understanding they have of space and how it affects people, gets treated like just another line item, a commodity.
Precisely. And the big idea, the key insight from these sources is pretty fascinating. It suggests shifting away from chasing clients or trying to undercut competitors on price,
Okay.
and instead focusing on systematically building trust, mostly through authentic storytelling. The idea is that this makes your ideal clients actually seek you out.
So they come to you already seeing the value, already kind of bought in.
Yeah, they're connected to your vision, they understand what you do differently, and they're actually ready to invest properly, not just looking for the cheapest quote.
Hmm. Okay, so our mission for this deep dive then is to really unpack that approach, to understand how focusing on trust, step by step, can genuinely transform how designers find and connect with clients.
Let's get into it.
Right. So the sources start by painting this picture of the exhaustion cycle. Can you walk me through what that actually looks like for a designer day to day?
Well, it's that treadmill feeling.
Yeah.
Constantly making cold calls, hitting every single networking event, just hoping you bump into the right person.
Sounds draining.
It is. And then even if you do get a meeting, it so often just boils down to price. You spend half the time just explaining why design is valuable, why it costs what it costs, instead of diving into the creative solutions.
You're always on the back foot defending the value proposition.
Exactly. It's defensive, not proactive. And that leads directly into what the sources call the commodity trap.
Which makes sense, right? If you're marketing the way everyone else does, just showing, say, beautiful photos of finished rooms without any deeper story, well, how does a potential client tell you apart?
They can't. Really.
Yeah.
If all they have to compare is a couple of nice photos and the final price on a proposal, what else are they going to focus on?
Price becomes the only lever.
Yep. Your unique process, your insights, your way of solving problems, it all gets flattened. You just become another name on a list, even though good design is so deeply personal and specific.
And that brings us to the trust gap, which feels particularly relevant for interior design. I mean, you're working in people's homes, their most intimate spaces.
Absolutely. It's incredibly personal. Traditional marketing often pushes for the sale way too early, before you've even had a chance to build any kind of relationship, let alone trust.
Yeah, you wouldn't let a stranger rearrange your living room based on a flyer, would you?
Exactly. It needs that foundation. And this is where the sources propose this really simple but powerful core principle as the alternative.
Okay, what is it?
Money flows to designers' clients trust most.
Simple, but yeah, profound when you think about it.
Right. Because think what happens when a client genuinely, deeply trusts your judgment, especially for something huge like a whole home renovation. The entire relationship changes.
How so? What are the tangible benefits they list?
Well, for starters, they stop shopping around based on price. They just trust you. They refer friends easily, enthusiastically even, because they had such a good experience.
Makes sense.
They're much more likely to hire you for multiple projects down the line. And, maybe most importantly, they start valuing your thinking, your perspective, how you solve problems. It's not just about the sofa you picked. It's about why you picked it.
You become a trusted advisor, not just someone executing a task.
Exactly. And that's where the real value lies. So the solution presented is built around this three-pillar framework. It's designed specifically to build that kind of deep client trust.
And those pillars are?
Growth, authenticity, and authority.
Okay, let's break those down. Pillar 1, growth. This is about attracting the right people through content, yeah. Not just eyeballs, but the right eyeballs.
Precisely. It talks about a pattern recognition shift that successful creators make. It's about moving beyond just, documenting the process, showing tiles being laid or paint swatches.
Okay.
It's about spotting those specific story moments. You see a client's face light up when they use their new kitchen for the first time. And you don't just think, oh, nice photo. You think, that feeling, that reaction. That's the story that shows how this design changed their actual life.
So it's connecting the design work to the human result. Performance meets emotion.
Exactly. The content that really works, the stuff that stops people scrolling, blends that emotional impact with the design insight that made it possible.
Can you give a couple more examples of those story angles? The source had some good ones.
Sure. Things like the kitchen renovation that completely changed this couple's morning routine. Or why this client almost walked away from their dream home and how we saved the project. Or even smaller stuff. The $200 tweak that unlocked how this family uses their living room.
See, those have a hook. They promise a narrative, a problem, and a solution rooted in real life.
Right. Not just look at this pretty room.
Love that. And the research system they talk about for figuring out what content works, it really pushes back against the usual advice, doesn't it? Studying the superstar designers.
Yeah, it argues that's often not helpful when you're starting out. Those huge names are playing a different game.
Yeah.
The better approach, it suggests, is finding maybe 10 designers who are about, say, 12 months ahead of where you want to be.
Okay.
And then you study their content, specifically the stuff they were posting when they were at your current stage. That's the more relevant, actionable blueprint.
That makes a lot more sense. So when you're looking at that content from those 12 months ahead designers, what are you looking for? What kinds of posts tended to get engagement back then?
Good question. The sources say look for things like genuine personal moments happening in the spaces, how renovation stress maybe tested the client's relationship, unexpected ways the redesigned space changed their daily habits, candid client reactions, the real joy or relief, and those behind-the-scenes decisions, the tricky choices that really made a difference.
It all comes back to the human side of the design journey.
Absolutely. So the key takeaway for this growth pillar is stop just documenting your process. Start capturing and sharing the human moments that happen because of the design. That's what draws the right people in.
Okay, that's growth. Let's move to pillar 2, authenticity. This sounds like it's about sharing your why and being real.
Exactly. Sharing your design philosophy, your core beliefs, and the real stories behind your projects, warts and all sometimes.
And they make an interesting point about the engagement reality, how followers who get your philosophy see your content differently.
Yeah, it's like they have these special classes on. If they know you believe homes should be calming sanctuaries, then even a simple photo of a bedroom resonates differently. It's not just a bedroom. It's an example of your philosophy in action.
So the connection runs deeper than just liking a photo.
Right. They introduce this idea of time under attention. Basically, strong engagement isn't just about one viral post. It's about the cumulative effect, the relationship depth you build by showing up authentically over time.
Makes sense. So how do you build that? The authenticity framework suggests starting with your own story, your design origin story.
Yeah, digging into what first sparked your passion for design. Was there a personal experience, maybe a renovation disaster or triumph, that really shaped how you approach things now? And crucially, what are your core design beliefs?
What do you mean by core beliefs in this context?
Things you genuinely believe about how homes should function or feel. The sources give examples like, every single person deserves the space where they can just be completely themselves. Or maybe homes should actively make daily life easier, not add friction.
Or design should reflect how people actually live, not some idealized version.
Exactly. These are specific viewpoints, your unique take.
Okay, but this leads to what they call the authentic polarization strategy. That sounds potentially risky. Aren't you worried about turning people off if you have strong opinions?
Well, here's the uncomfortable truth they talk about. If you try to be everything to everyone, you often end up being nothing special to anyone. The argument is that having clear, authentic opinions about design and living acts as a powerful filter. Yes, you might repel some people who want something totally different or maybe something more generic, but you strongly attract and connect with the right clients, the ones who hear your perspective and think, yes, that's exactly what I believe too. It pre-qualifies people based on shared values before they even pick up the phone.
Okay, I see. It's not about alienating people. It's about attracting the right people more strongly. Filtering, not just polarizing. Right, so we've got growth attracting the right audience, authenticity building that deep connection. How does pillar 3, authority, turn this into actual business? How do you convert followers into clients?
This is where authority comes in. It's about demonstrating your expertise, but not just by showing off finished rooms. It's about telling compelling transformation narratives.
And the sources highlight this awareness problem on social media, right?
Yeah.
Most people scrolling aren't actively thinking, I need an interior designer right now.
Exactly. They're just browsing, maybe bored. So your content has a big job to do.
Yeah.
It needs to somehow make non-interested people suddenly emotional about spaces they hadn't considered important
Wow, that's a high bar. How do you do that?
by reframing your expertise. So instead of content like how to design a functional mudroom, which is fine, but maybe a bit dry,
Yeah, sounds like a blog post, maybe?
right, you reframe it around the outcome, the mudroom makeover that finally stopped the daily chaos and gave this family their entryway back. Or instead of choosing kitchen layouts, it might be why this client's simple kitchen island became the heart of their home.
Ah, so you're selling the impact on their life, the feeling, the transformation, not the technical details.
Exactly. You lead with the human benefit. And the sources connect this to the 5 awareness levels in interior design. People go from totally unaware, just scrolling, all the way up to most aware, actively looking for someone with your specific skills.
And the insight is that social media hits the unaware folks, but your actual services are for the highly aware ones.
Yes, and your content acts as the bridge. It
Yeah.
takes someone from, never thought about my entryway, to, wow, maybe my entryway could be better. I wonder who did that. It moves them along that awareness path, building trust as they go.
Makes sense. And there are specific types of stories that build this authority particularly well.
Definitely. The sources list things like decision moments. Here's why I convinced the client to invest in better storage over fancier tiles and why it paid off. Personal revelations. What this client shared with me changed how I saw their entire project. Renovation reality, the week everything went sideways and how we got it back on track. Or life changes, how a major life shift meant we had to totally rethink their finished living room.
Those stories show judgment, problem solving, empathy, the real stuff.
The true signs of authority and expertise in practice.
Okay, so putting these 3 pillars, growth, authenticity, authority together, how does that actually result in better business? Sign contracts, happier clients.
Well, the beauty is the whole system acts as a filter before anyone even contacts you. People who follow you and resonate with your authentic stories, your philosophy, your transformation examples, they arrive largely pre-qualified.
They already get it. They get you.
Right. They understand your approach, the value you bring. So you end up with far fewer tire kickers just shopping on price and way more serious prospects who are genuinely interested in the change you can create for them.
That must save an incredible amount of time and energy for the designer.
Huge amounts. And it changes the consultation process too.
How so?
You're not really selling anymore in that initial call. Your content, your stories might have soft calls to action like, if you're feeling overwhelmed by your space, maybe we should chat. By the time they reach out, they already trust your judgment to a degree.
So the conversation is different.
Yeah, that becomes more about understanding their specific situation, their challenges, their dreams for the space. And because that trust is already partially built, the consultation kind of sells itself. You're collaboratively exploring solutions, not constantly justifying your fee.
And this trust is also the foundation for what they call premium pricing through trust.
Absolutely. When clients have followed you, seen your process, understood your thinking through your content over weeks or months, they get the depth of your expertise. They see the outcomes.
So they're hiring you for more than just picking furniture.
Exactly. They're hiring you for your thinking, your strategic approach, your ability to solve their unique problem. That inherently positions you as a valued advisor, which allows you to command premium pricing for that expertise.
And referrals, how does this system impact word of mouth?
It fuels natural referral generation. Every story you share is a potential referral tool. A past client might see a story about a challenge similar to theirs and tag a friend going through the same thing.
Ah, interesting.
Your content gives past clients an easy, tangible way to share your work and explain why they loved working with you. They can literally show a friend a post and say, see, this is the kind of problem Sarah solved for us. Your stories become their easy referral script.
That's powerful. So the sources touch briefly on implementation. Getting started involves some foundational work.
Yeah, things like really digging into your own origin story, articulating those core beliefs we talked about, doing that research on the 12-month ahead designers, and then crafting maybe your first client transformation story.
And then it's about consistency.
Right. Establishing a rhythm, maybe looking at relevant content daily, noting what evokes emotion, and committing to creating maybe one core story piece each week.
And then they also flag some common mistakes to avoid.
Definitely. Things like only showing perfect, finished rooms without the human story, focusing too much on the technical process instead of the impact, studying the wrong designers, trying to be bland to please everyone instead of authentic, hiding failures or avoiding opinions, or teaching too much DIY instead of positioning yourself as the expert solution.
Got it. So how do you know if this approach is actually working? What's the ROI look like?
It's not always about immediate sales closing that week. The sources suggest looking for deeper engagement comments and DMs that ask thoughtful questions about your philosophy, not just how much. Track consultation requests, especially noting if they mention specific content. Monitor shares and saves.
And referrals, too.
Yes, definitely track referrals where the person explicitly says, so-and-so shared your post about X, or I've been following your stories about Y. They suggest you'll see shifts in engagement quickly, within weeks, but the real impact compounds over months of consistency.
And the ultimate business outcomes you're aiming for are.
Higher quality inquiries, definitely. Less time wasted qualifying leads. Increased project values because clients see the deeper value. And of course, more of those natural, enthusiastic referrals. It all builds through this compound effect, as they call it. Consistent storytelling, rooted in authenticity and demonstrating authoritative results. It just fundamentally changes how clients find you and why they choose you.
So you shift from chasing work to evaluating opportunities.
Exactly. You become the obvious choice for the clients who are the right fit, the ones who truly value the human impact you create through design.
Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive, it really feels like the core message is about this fundamental shift, moving away from that exhausting grind of conventional marketing.
And stepping into becoming that trusted, sought-after choice, all through the power of building genuine connection and showing your value via authentic storytelling.
It really elevates the designer's role, doesn't it? From just a service provider competing on price.
To a truly trusted advisor, chosen for their unique perspective, their core values, and their proven ability to make a real, meaningful difference in how people live in their homes.
So building on that powerful idea of authentic stories and core beliefs, here's something for you, the listener, to think about after this. What's your own origin story? Maybe related to your work, or even a passion or hobby. What are those driving core beliefs you hold? Maybe even ones that not everyone agrees with.
Yeah, and then take it a step further. What's the very first human moment story from your own experience? Maybe a challenge overcome, a surprising result, a key decision you made that you could actually identify and maybe even share with someone.
That wraps up this episode of the Interior Design Her podcast. If you're ready to put this to work in your business, head over to the show notes and hit the link to our how-to guide and worksheet. This stuff really works. No more convincing people of the value of your work. Start talking to clients who already want you. And please subscribe, rate, and review our little podcast. It really helps us get discovered by new listeners. Oh, and if you don't have time for our DIY guide, stay tuned for the AI tool we're building right now. It's going to save you a ton of time. Next week, we talk to Jessica Harling of Go Behind the Design about how to level up the business side of your interior design business. It's a really good episode.